Um, God, Hanka, it's taken us a while, hasn't it, to find a date? Because I know you are such an incredibly busy person. But I'm very, very glad that we were able to have you on the Sales Transformation podcast. So welcome.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm very much curious what will be all topics we will touch
Well,
today.
yeah. So for the benefit of our listeners, Hanka is the managing director of SAP in the Czech Republic, unless I've got that slightly wrong, but I believe that's the case. And Hanka is also on our master's program. So we know Hanka is a student of the Sales Transformation Masters as well. And I've been very, interested in some of the lines of inquiry that Hanka has been pursuing on her masters. But I'm also invited Hanka to take part because in the podcast, because it's very rare that we see females reach such a level of position in an organization. And so I'm very much hoping that we can explore, Hanka, with you, um, how you are addressing some of the challenges in the marketplace in the Czech Republic, how you've managed to navigate your career in SAP up to the very high levels within SAP, and would very much like to talk about the challenges maybe you face being a female in the tech world, which is quite male dominated as well. So these are the three kind of themes for us to explore. But before we start, I wonder, for the benefit of our listeners, if you can just tell us a little bit about who you are and how did you come to be in sales, and what's been your journey?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, first of all, very, very, very pleased to be with you today. And I still see myself like on the journey. So I'm still, let's say, exploring also other possibilities. So I'm still like not seeing that I completed all my experience, and what I will be sharing today is really relevant till this moment.
Okay.
And I think that it's really very interesting for me, all these new possibilities. And I was, how I end up in SAP in IT in sales.
Yeah.
Definitely, my journey was totally different because, specific because I studied civil engineering. And then in the middle of school or university, I was really absolutely impressed by the topic of marketing that
Okay.
I found out very close to my heart, to my values, to something what really I like, because it was really kind of combination of creating demand, creating something that nobody
Mm.
don't want, or know that I needed, in terms of like this is really now my new needs, and of course
Yeah.
it's a lot of creativity.
Okay.
And with the marketing, then of course in civil engineering, probably this is not the best place to be,
Okay.
to exploring more. And I found out IT as very dynamic and very interesting area, and that especially for the marketing should be really good point, good start. So as a pilot, I stepped into the IT, and I'm already in IT more than 20 years. So
Wow. Okay. So you entered the market. I mean, if we look back at the sort of history of the Czech Republic and how it developed. So 20 years ago, what was it like being in the Czech Republic then? Because that's the point at which you entered, you know, this new area of technology. So perhaps you could just share for us a little bit the journey that you've seen from a sort of country perspective.
Yeah, no, actually, it's little bit very interesting situation, because of course, due to the communist regime and so on, we somehow missed some part of development that usually our Western, countries invest and really have already that time the level of information technologies to be used. So after the revolution, we had really a very huge boom in terms of like that all
Mm.
companies came to the market, and really a lot of companies and customers started to invest to standard software coming from Western Europe. So also you can see this year and last year, majority of companies in the Czech Republic celebrating 30 years, because it's really,
Oh,
some period that representing that time. So it was really a lot of kind of, let's say, pioneering activities, and it was
mm.
really huge boom. And currently, what I'm comparing today and
Yeah,
this 20-25 years back, it's mostly about like readiness of the customers, because that time for customers, majority of those solutions or topics that we were discussing, and that Western companies and global companies and international companies bring to the Czech Republic that time, was really a lot of new knowledge for the Czech customers and for Czech companies. But currently, what I absolutely currently don't see a difference between the readiness and knowledge of the managers and the companies and customers here in the Czech Republic comparing with the other companies around the world. So I think that the biggest difference is really the readiness and understanding of the topic, and
okay.
also a much more experience that currently we have comparing,
Yeah.
20-25 years back.
Do you know, I remember I was doing a project with Apple computers, and one of the projects was in the Czech Republic, and it wasn't long after the revolution actually. And I remember that I was running a workshop with some of the Apple dealers in the Czech Republic, and we had incredibly bright and intelligent people moving into the tech space, but like in medicine and in astrophysics and lots of science related topics. And they sort of steered their way into the tech world, but it was a privilege, I think, for me to have had the opportunity of being able to be there quite soon after. I'm
Hmm.
showing my age here, but it made a marked impression on me. These bright people who were entering a kind of a new world of doing business, and absolutely eager to lap up information, having the intelligence to be able to assess it very quickly and kind of move on. So yeah. Anyway, I'm just reminisce very slightly. Plus the benefit of being able to explore that wonderful city, that is Prague as well. So
Thank you.
okay, so you entered sales from. I mean, that's quite a big switch from civil engineering to tech. And were you in a sales and marketing role from the early stage? I mean, what were your early sort of stage career? And was it
Yeah.
SAP that you joined all those years
No,
ago?
no, no, no,
Yeah,
no, 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 no.
yeah,
So I joined another, let's say, it was Scandinavian ERP vendor. I joined as a marketing manager, and then I joined a local, one of the biggest IT system integrator here in the Czech Republic,
yeah.
and it was a partner of SAP, of Oracle, of a lot
Okay,
of other big vendors, and really implementing their solution here in the Czech Republic. And what was very interesting was that 2 years after I joined this company has been acquired by a company called NES. It was that time Israel slash US startup with the
okay,
vision to build really global system integrator,
okay.
focusing on the really tier one and really enterprise
Yeah,
solutions. And I became a member of this M&A acquisition team for the CEE region.
yeah,
And this was one of my very, let's say, most important learning
yeah,
for the entire business, because of course, being part of for this negotiation of course, that time I was really very young, and I was
yeah,
responsible for a branding, and I was responsible for sales processes alignment and for some other things. So observing my colleagues, how they negotiate, what is important, how they are preparing for such very important meetings that you have as a part of M&A. So this
yeah,
was something that I was really, really, let's say, again found as very inspiration place
Yeah.
to be. And then I had really privilege that I become for some time part of the global marketing slash product team,
Okay.
because this company decided to go IPO. So we had again a lot of experience in terms of how to prepare the company for IPO, in terms of standardizing the process reporting, really making a global company. So again, I had a lot of very interesting opportunities to learn different experience, different cultures. It was also
Yes.
something that was totally new to me that time. That really the culture meaning something in the business.
Yes. Okay, but were you still based in the Czech Republic at that time, or were you? Yeah, so but part of a global team, but based in the Czech Republic. How amazing! So you got that experience when you were very young. That's so interesting. So maybe we could move on now to where you are today, and sort of what your journey's been through to SAP. And also, I'd love you to share a little bit what you're doing outside of SAP, because I know that you're also on some very important boards in the Czech Republic, and I think it'd be just really interesting to have that context as well.
Mhm. So in SAP, actually now I'm 9 years.
Yeah.
I started as a pre-sales manager. So with the mission to really, because that time also SAP launched our new flagship as for HANA. So my mission was really how to change from the technical consulting and technical approach of selling for the
Mm,
business value and really for the transformative sales.
yeah.
So this is something that was really mission that I like it, and I decided to join SAP.
Okay.
And now it will be in August, it will be 5 years in the
Okay.
position as MD. That I found really as one of the most exciting job, that I
Yeah.
never dream about actually, but a really job that is so much inspiration, energizing you. Of course, taking also a lot of energy, but it's really something that absolutely fitting to my personality, to my values, to everything what I want to do. So it's really perfect. And I think this is one of also connecting to my other roles, that I believe that what is really really important, especially when you are part of such a global organization, that you always need, at least it's my way, that I'm always trying to find my own way how I should, let's say, bring something back. As I'm part of the big corporation, of course, you should bring something back to your corporation. It's usually the revenue and the results and so on, what it's the
Yeah.
corporation expecting from you. On the other side, you are still based and responsible for some market. And I think this was one of my priority already from the beginning of my role, to use the knowledge and power of SAP for helping the Czech Republic from different perspectives, helping the Czech companies to become a global and use the experience and use the best practices, but
Mm,
also bringing all the best practices we have in other areas as SAP and helping to somehow, let's say, mm, educating the market or educating or
yeah.
accelerating some of the topics. And then came, I got this offer to become a board member for the Czech Chamber of Commerce. That
Okay.
is the biggest commercial chamber in the Czech Republic with almost 700 members, really representing a huge scope of
Mm,
different companies.
yeah.
And I'm very proud that I
Yeah.
got this opportunity, because of course then some of my thoughts, and it's very going also very much in line with my topic for the master, that
Yeah.
it's really the value of education and value of long life learning is now should be accelerated, because
Huh.
as a board member, my main topic, it's really digital skills gap, education, learning, and what
Yeah.
how really we should make sure that our companies in the Czech Republic stay competitive and really relevant on the Czech market, and
Mm.
still be able to delivering added value for the Czech market.
One of the things that we talk about on the masters is, and we did this on module one, was talk about the I, the we, and the greater we. and I can really see that you've taken, this is part of your DNA. I don't think we needed to have talked about it, but it's very interesting to see how your vision has, it's not just about yourself, it's not just about, your own career path, but I've sensed that there's been a very strong, like you say, sort of giving back, for the benefit of the country. And that's reflected now in some of these very senior, well, the senior appointments that you now have with the Chamber of Commerce. So I just think it's quite inspiring actually to hear you talk about the kind of what your mission is, I guess.
Yeah. But Philip, what I really found out is that this IV and greater V is really something that it's a DNA of majority of the leaders that I am like evaluating as the good leader. So
Okay.
when I'm meeting the different and other leaders, doesn't matter the industry, doesn't matter, if it's
Yeah.
private, public, if we talk about different, arrangement of the companies. But this is what I found out I'm not saying surprisingly, but this is kind
Yes.
of like common DNA that
Okay.
always, they think about, yeah, what I should do with myself, because of course I'm not happy or I'm not
Yeah.
satisfied. I'm not seeing that, I'm perfect. So what I see it is that those people are always challenging themselves, including
Okay.
myself. They always thinking on the first priority on their teams and what they should do with their teams, and not just seeing them as kind of like not performing or not good team,
Yeah.
whatever, that they always believe to their teams. But they also has kind of, let's say, internal needs of going a little bit broader, not just
Okay.
like stopping with the doors of my company, but really going even outside. And this is
Yeah.
kind of like I found out really majority of them have it.
Wow. Well, maybe that's because, if you're joining a chamber of commerce, well, maybe not so. I mean, you must be driven, to want to maybe share. I mean, that's perhaps what chamber of commerces do, but I don't know. I'm sure that there would be people who could potentially join it just to get personal gain, from the network. But what you're suggesting here is you sense this more altruistic sort of giving um,
Yeah,
as part of the DNA of what makes a great leader. And I think that's really interesting. Not sure that I've necessarily, when you start to look at all the leadership theories, of what makes a great leader, and we've introduced you to quite a few of these over your different modules, but I'm not sure this leadership trait that you've identified is something that perhaps has been specified in some of the more traditional theories. So I'm going to look into that point, but it's an
interesting.
interesting one. It is, yeah,
Yeah.
really, really interesting.
And
So
and just Philip, if
yeah,
I may, because I this week I found one very interesting kind of concept or
yeah,
theory, let's put it this
okay,
way. And it's about the serendipity, if you know it.
serendipity, yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
And it was first time I really had a chance to little bit explore more details about like
yeah,
this model. And I have to say that it's helping answering a lot of, let's say, questions why somebody is more successful than the other. Because
okay,
if and this is something what I like it on this model very much, because it's really the principle. It's very simple. If by your DNA, by your behavior, by your setup that you cannot influence, but you as a person are capable to see the opportunities where the others are not seeing these opportunities, and you are
yeah,
ready to take those opportunities. And I think that this is also some combination, because if you are, let's say, more open
yeah,
for, let's say, even surprises, and really taking
yeah,
those opportunities positively, this is something that usually it's coming back to you. And I always was like, how come, how it's possible that it's really working positively. And like discussion about the lucky people, and
yeah,
more, the people that are not so much lucky. But this
Serendipity, yeah.
is is really very nice describing this one. So I found this model, and definitely I want to figure out more about that, because it's very interesting that sometimes you feel that, it's pity I'm not so lucky like that person. But it's the lucky is not just like, something that it's coming without
Yeah,
any other reasons behind. This is
yeah.
what I want to learn more. I don't know if you had experience with this model or the theory.
No. No, but as you're talking, I'm trying to recall, and I'm probably misquoting this, is serendipity is where preparation and chance c combine, something like that. Preparation, because it's quite interesting. It's whether, and I know we speak quite a lot about mindsets, and like you were just saying, that where you're able to see things that maybe other people don't see, and how much of this comes back down to this sort of curiosity, growth mindset, proactive creativity for seeing or making things happen, and then having the courage, the tactful
Mhm.
audacity, to have the courage to make something happen, to believe you can do it. So, how much of serendipity is caused by having a combination of these mindsets, I think is. Are you going to make this the subject of your final project, or is
No, no,
that?
no. I'm
No, no,
I'm
that
not I'm not I'm not extending,
keep on
I
extending, yeah.
I have already enough. No, but what I believe that, especially in nowadays, I still what I am observing is really that people are somehow, of course, we have a lot of new stress and a lot of
Yeah,
unknown things, and it's really happening all around, and coming from even the areas that you always believe that are something like secure positions.
yeah,
That during COVID, that kids can go to school, that all these things, totally changed the kind of like our foundation and our
yeah,
basics, that the people are, let's say, more more no, more under the higher stress and so on. So,
yeah,
and what I'm observing is that the people are saying, yeah, but he's lucky,
yeah,
and that is lucky, and I'm not lucky. And then, you are just thinking, okay, but how it's possible that somebody is more lucky than the other ones?
yeah,
So I was just like curious about that, because actually I am definitely feeling myself as a lucky person, that I'm always having the in the right moment meeting the right people, and
yeah,
showing me the new opportunities, and giving me the chance that, in few months, years, you just can really judge or
yeah.
can really name it as the very important and very positive. So therefore I was looking, how come
How
that,
come? Yeah,
it's happening like that. But it's very much, also very much, definitely connected to all what you said about the mindset, about
yeah,
the ability or a readiness of people to
yeah,
challenge themselves, and to, let's say, maintain their setup. Because
yes,
if you are just like keeping like it is, usually there is no progress.
yeah. Okay. Well, I know that from some of the discussions that we've had, and I want to come back to the question of the markets as you see them now, as an MD, because I think, the world is going through a very turbulent time, and I'd be really interested, to hear how you see it through the lens of an MD. But this may be linked a little bit to what we're just discussing about
Mhm,
serendipity. But I remember that you were quite interested in exploring the generational differences, I think, in your organization that you're managing, and their sort of attitudes. I mean,
mhm.
perhaps to work, and that may have been an area that you explored in your earlier stage masters projects. But I think it was quite interesting, and it may be partly influenced by the pandemic and the impact that that had on people's motivation at work. So I'd be really interested if
Yep,
you wouldn't mind sharing
yep.
um, some of your observations as an MD, sort of managing, I'm not sure how large your team is, but obviously with many different sort of age ranges and experience ranges, and your concern about keeping, the motivation, I guess, going, through
Yeah.
difficult times.
So first of all, what I really see is that the market is moving.
Okay.
We should discuss about what is the motivation, what is behind that. Some of them are also, of course, those negative things, what is going around us, because the people, let's say, feel not safe in terms of
Yeah.
like future career, future positions, and so on. So, but definitely, what we can observe is that market is significantly moving,
Okay.
and it's I believe that move is always possible, potential
Positive.
positive change
Okay.
and an opportunity. Of course, it should be also the opposite one, but I see it as opportunity.
Yeah.
But on the other side, what we also observing is that, and there is majority of the studies talking about really a gap in terms of people that we will be missing, a lot of people.
Yes.
For example, just Czech Republic, it's missing just today 14,000 IT experts. So it's really that we are seeing that there is lack of experience, or not experience, educated people
Right.
for specific roles. And this is about IT, but when you are talking with any other area, or industry, you will hear the same. So it doesn't matter
Okay.
in which industry you are, everybody is talking about that there is not enough people and that they really need additional people. And then when you go a little bit more deeper to demographic situation, we all know that unfortunately, our generation or our population is going to be older, and
Yeah.
that we somehow need to find a balance about how all those generations should really work together,
Okay.
because now it's the moment when, as a working population, there is a really combination of the biggest number of all generation now in the active production population or working population, and the differences are really huge. And what for me was one of the most, let's say, important moment is that currently the last generation, even this generation alpha,
Yeah.
uh, the latest study is saying that this generation in fact doesn't have kind of like symbols or kind of like trends that you can describe it. For millennials, for even generation X, you still can
Yeah.
find some commonalities, something that will help to address how to work with the generation,
Okay.
particular XYZ. But if now we are touching alpha, alpha is already so broad because they don't have those, commonalities. So
Okay.
so this is something that for us it's, as an employer, bringing totally new challenges, because
Okay.
there is, let's say, no standard that can
Okay.
address, because they really expecting that each and every is individual and should be treated as individual, and that
Okay.
this averages and commonalities, it's something that they are not accepting. On the other side, you still have in your team the generation millennials, generation X, and
Yeah.
even the older, and those generations expecting something different. So I think the biggest now for me challenge, and really very interesting complexity that it's coming,
Yeah.
is in terms of like how to combine this, let's say,
Yeah.
older generation with the new one, and find the best from both. Because I think the old generation really can help with a lot of structure, with really they have a lot of
Yeah.
experience and so on. And young generation is bringing this kind of, let's say, openness for piloting things, for
Yeah.
prototyping the things, for really like be eager for bringing the new things. But of course, with the older generation, they should really prevent some potential mistakes or
Yeah.
let's say really problems, because the old generation should show them where the risks should come from. Yeah, so this is something what I believe it's really very interesting model. And of course, those younger generation now with COVID, they lost um, kind of very important moment or period of
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
to get some very important experience, especially, with interactive, with
Yeah.
really
Absolutely.
socializing and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
on. And I think it will be very difficult now to be like generally saying, what is behind it, because I think that still it's very early to judge what will be the
Yeah.
impact. But for me, the most important is that yes, the new generation doesn't have a commonalities and don't look at for some kind of, let's say,
Yeah.
like description, this is the typical behavior or typical needs. No,
Yeah.
they're unlimited.
So, yes, okay. So you've stated the problem. Have you got a solution for it, or is it something that you're sort of working with your HR team to kind of, you know,
No, no.
and
Um,
managers? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
no. So I'm very I didn't find the answer yet. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But what helped me a lot was few of the theories that we touched during our master.
Okay.
First one, it's really this topic of brain plasticity.
Okay.
Because if we will not bring the new impulses, and if we will, let's say, not really train brain of young generation, but
Yeah.
also the older generation, then definitely the change will not come, or this, let's
Yeah.
say, more kind of sync will not happen.
Right.
And this plasticity on the other side, it's giving you a chance
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
still each one of us can somehow develop, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we should really learn the new behavior and new
Yeah.
model of, let's say,
Of,
doing the
of
things.
doing things.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I think that what is very important, that we cannot just like very, have a easy judgment that,
Yeah.
this is this or that. So really this was for me kind of like moment when I said, it's okay, we are still, all of us has this plasticity, so all of us should really do something
Yeah.
with us. The second is about this learning, because of course the most important is that, and this was very interesting, to see the difference between transformation and really transactional
Yeah.
changes,
Yeah.
and really how to lead the change management, because this is
Yeah.
in fact what we need to do. We need really to think about change management,
Yeah.
but not as a transactional one, because usually those younger generation, they really want to, let's say, they are more eager to understand why, how much it will cost them in terms of resources, how long it will take, what will be the benefits, and so on. They have more questions. Also, for example, back to values, back
Yeah.
to some kind of, let's say, more a high level of meaning why we do what we do.
Yeah.
um, so this is something that bring me back to the topic of, okay, so if I'm expecting to do some changes and I want to, let's say, bring those generation closer to each other, that they should really understand each other more precisely, so it means that I need to provide them some more knowledge and learning
Yeah.
for different topics.
Yeah.
And then I started to look at, okay, but I don't know what is your experience. Usually, probably you are working with the people who are somehow inside motivated to work on themselves. But my experience was that it's really, really challenge to motivate adults for
Yeah.
learning,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
additional education.
Yeah.
So I was looking about what is behind it, and what are the best practices, and I found very, very interesting model that it's addressing exactly what we just discussed before, and it's called
Okay.
peer-to-peer learning.
It's called
Because
peer-to-peer learning.
yes,
Okay, got it. Yeah, yeah.
because this is exactly allowing you to combine the generation,
Yes.
combine the different experience, and bringing like not only the senior people to teach the young ones, but
Yeah,
also to teach the young ones the senior one for other topics. And then you are really kind of like creating the culture that, that it's really, for me, the learning culture. And specifically when you have so dynamic
yeah,
market as we have, and also sales, it's very, very dynamic.
yeah,
This is something that I really find as one of the most interesting job because you need to, let's say, know so many things
So many things, yeah.
that I found out, and this is definitely one of my intention to pilot this peer to peer and to
Yeah,
really do kind of observation if really this can help me to address what we discussed before. So
yes.
combine the generation and do the different style of learning.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think it's very interesting. Have you got any thoughts about how you might pilot that? Because I imagine you need some sort of structure to it,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't know where you would necessarily start. Is it a buddy system where you buddy people up together, or do you get clusters of people of different generations to work together on problems and projects? And
Um, so currently my thoughts it's a little bit different because we already have a buddy program. We have different
yeah,
other
yeah, I
programs
know.
already in
Yeah.
place. But as also market it's very dynamically changing, and we
Okay.
see that our people need some new knowledge. For
Okay.
example, the complexity the top what IT should solve, it's really
Yeah.
huge. We
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
really do from A to Z. We
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
talk about each and every process in the company, and making this simple and understandable
Okay.
for the customer, but really not selling the technical features and functions, but really going more to business value, to really this transformation topic. It's
Yeah.
something that I am now seeing that even, for example, some young people are more ready for this style of selling than the older one. So
Okay.
my approach will be that we decided to like it's like 10 or 11 topics that
Yeah.
currently we are as a management seeing that are important to be successful in sales.
Okay.
And we will now it's describe it, so it's prepared, and we will ask our sales team to vote for two most important for them, for
Okay.
two that they believe will really make a difference in their success.
Yeah.
And for those two, I'd like to create a voluntary working groups, that the
Okay.
working groups should be between 5 to 6 people.
Got it. Yeah.
And of course, for each group we need kind of like I'm calling like spokesperson. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying that this is a leading the group. No, it's a
Yeah.
spokesperson,
Okay.
somebody who will get the peer-to-peer training. So what does it mean, how it's working, and then we will be really driving those two. Currently, we are even thinking about really like working groups. We are thinking about like more this, let's say, uh, of course, we want to give them the concrete task with the results, with the competencies, and so on. So really allowing them to use this platform as not something just to talk,
Yeah.
but really to make the impact and to come
Yeah.
with some concrete outcomes. So this is the plan. And what I found out also very important is that you need to have the kind of ownership for such a program,
Yeah.
because it's something that yes, I know how to do it and want to do it, but nobody has a capacity for that.
Yeah.
So we will also combine another model that we will open as a fellowship position for this program. So I'd like
Okay.
to have a person from whatever, where from SAP, who is eager about this topic, about the,
Okay.
let's say, different generation diversity,
Yeah.
new way of learning, and that we will have this fellowship program as a new way how to
Wow.
introduce this peer to peer. And yeah, then we will evaluate, and if it will be successful and working, I hope that then I can continue.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, thank you for sharing so much about how you're going to approach it, and it will be is this going to be part of your final paper? You must be quite close to finishing now.
Actually, I'm now finalizing the questions
Fine.
for my
Oh,
survey.
oh, okay. Right.
Um,
Got it.
but so what I will be doing is that my topic is really if psychological safety can unlock the learning potential, because what
Okay.
I believe that all those new style, including the peer to peer learning, has one very important prerequisites that called psychological safety.
Yeah.
Because if the people really don't feel safe in terms of taking the risk, trying
Yeah.
experiment, make the mistakes, and so on, then of course there will be very kind of, let's say, mm, reserved,
Yeah.
to eager to learn some new things and try
Yeah.
to use the new skills that they will
Yeah.
they will learn. So this is my project, and in the project, what I'd like to do is, that I would like to come or bring, 3 to 4 another examples how different companies approaching this topic. I already
Okay.
found a very interesting model, very similar to this peer-to-peer, but really more structured as the academy,
Okay.
that one company introduced internally, and they are very successful with this one. They have always fully booked everything. So this is, so my aim is really just like bring the concrete examples from the Czech market. What
Yeah.
are the approach of different companies? What are the best practices? And then, of course, showing what should be the impact. Because I think, again, here it's very important just to, let's say, inspire, that it's
Yeah.
not necessarily only about big budget, big programs, and so on, that
Yeah.
you should really, even with the small initiative, make a difference.
Yeah. And I'm sure that that there will be others within your Chamber of Commerce contacts that if you come up with a model that can address this generational difference, I'm sure it's something that they'd be interested in learning about
Yes.
and so on. So I can see it sort of amplifying at some point. How interesting. Well, one of the topics that we also wanted to cover, Hanka, is how easy has it been being a female, sort of going through the sales world? Because there are not many people who get up to the level that you're at. So has it ever bothered you? Or, what have there been any glass ceilings that you had to break through in order to get to where you're at? But I know that SAP is a great believer in diversity. And so it's something that they, encourage, I'm sure. But still, the stats are in the sales world that
Mhm.
it's mainly male orientated, I think.
you know, uh, First of all, I never experience
Okay.
kind of like challenges here, and probably I was lucky to meet really people who gave me a trust, who gave me
Yeah.
a chance, and who give me the opportunity. And so, really, as I told you, as a part of this M&A team,
Yeah.
I was 28, and
Okay. Really young.
so
Yeah.
it's something that I believe this is something that now making for me the importance factor, that for the young generation it's so important to give them a chance with
Okay.
no, let's say, with no limitation,
Okay. Yeah.
uh, because then you can really discover a talents.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but if the young generation is not getting those opportunities, then we should lose those talents, because those
Yeah.
people probably even will resignate on their own, let's say,
Yeah.
possibilities. So what I believe is, being a female in sales, um, I think it's really, I believe it's I'm always struggling that female afraid to go to sales, because it's
Yeah.
very stressful job.
Yeah.
Uh, um, and probably this is the reason why they afraid. On the other side, I see a lot of our strengthness, something that it's helping a lot with the sales and with
Yeah.
all the things what also we touch
Yeah.
during
We've
the
touched on.
during the master, because really problem solving, the
Yeah.
way how we should really generate the ideas, the empathy, the communication, all those things. I believe we are really very well capable, ready and capable to become a leaders.
Yeah.
But what probably is something that it's locking, or not locking, it's really, influencing very much that we still don't see so many females, is the role models, because this is
Okay.
something that usually, uh, it's not about the, that you have a quota or that you have a special programs and so on. I always believe that the main trigger and main change, it's coming when you are having enough role models. And
Yeah.
it's not only about one or two. And always I'm saying, don't compare yourself with me, because I'm already on on some level that of course you need to go step by step. And if you will be now dreaming to become MD or to become a sales director, probably you will see this dream as something that it's very, very far. And I
Yeah.
think that what we need to do, and one of also my activities, what I'm doing, because I'm also taking a lot of keynote speeches and panel
Yeah.
discussions, is encouraging the young generation to, let's say, dreaming about my next job, but not the final one. Because if I will be just dreaming about, okay, my next career is my next job should be this, and next job and so on, or if I am dreaming to become MD, of course, your readiness and your mm,
Yeah.
ability to move will be
Yeah.
different, because this MD should be too long. And
Yeah. Yeah.
something that we also talk about, that if you see that you need to really invest for very long time and you don't see the results and you are not feeling the satisfaction, then probably you can lose the motivation and you can really use this let's say energy to
Yeah.
invest to that more. So this is what I believe it's very important for having more females
Mm.
in in the leadership, and especially in sales. So I think it's great, to bring us students and just like give them the chance. Don't
Yeah.
afraid that they will make a mistakes. This is something that I'm seeing biggest difference between. And
Yeah.
now I'm not really experienced in other European cultures, so I will be talking only about Czech.
Sure.
That we
Yeah.
are still so much afraid to make mistakes.
That's yeah.
Comparing to US, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I love this notion of psychological safety. And I think you remember us talking about Dr. Simon West and the Museum of Failure. And I mean, he's still going from strength to strength with his work with that museum, which I think is so lovely and ironic,
Hmm.
just very smart. But I mean, one of the great things that's happening in our country is this government initiative around sales apprenticeships. And this has enabled us to build undergraduate sales degrees, not postgraduate, which of course you're on, um, for people at school to be able to apply. They need to apply to companies like SAP now is part of this. Just starting this year, we're very happy with that in the
Hmm.
UK. But so part of the problem of females coming into sales is them wanting at school to choose to think of sales as a potential career path. And so when you start to think about, and we don't get so many applicants,
Hmm.
that's what we're finding. So part of the challenge is a cultural challenge almost of trying to get schools, um, to offer sales as a potential opportunity. And of course, with the undergraduate degrees now, you can join some amazing companies straight out of school, not go to university, get your degree, and so we're hoping that we can address some of this imbalance of age, sorry, not age, of gender,
Yeah.
in the process. But it's surprisingly difficult, I would say, even with some of the possibilities. It's not cool to go into sales. But what you've said earlier on, I personally feel that females are so well placed to do exceptionally well in sales, you know, for all of the reasons that we know. They're sort of, social skills tend to be quite good. They tend to be emotionally intuitive, and problem solvers. of course, you've then got the challenge, and I know you've got a young family as well. You're sort of juggling family and pressures of work, and that makes it difficult. So you get people dropping out of sales and not taking on management positions while they take did you take a career break when you had young children, or did you? No, you carried on. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, this is again another factor that makes it more difficult.
But what I think, Philip, what I see here also is that we should really more talk about different also level of engagement, or kind of, let's say, type of jobs, because
Okay,
currently, for example, in Germany, SAP is piloting very interesting model of sharing a job, and especially in
a job
sales.
share. Okay, that's
Yes.
interesting.
So
Wow.
you have
Yeah,
a two female, and
yeah,
really that, especially for example after the maternity or whatever, and you know that
yeah,
you cannot come back to 100%, but as a sharing job, so it really, two females are sharing the sales position. And this
yeah.
is something that
That's yeah,
according what I heard about this program, it's really very successful. Of course, it's very much depending on the the individual people,
yeah,
and if they really trust each other and so on. So
yeah,
it's not something that should work with everybody. On the other side, I believe that also the new way of working, these hybrid models and so on,
yeah,
should really open more about
yeah,
what does
yeah,
it mean to be in sales, and that the sales will be little bit demystified, that it's
yeah,
just a man world, that it's
yeah,
something that females should be also very, very successful, and bringing a lot of new perspective and dimension in the process. So
yeah,
so I think that what will be also good to really talk about different model of
yeah,
positions,
yeah, yeah,
that not everything has to be 100% just like full time.
yeah. That's great. That's a really creative thought. Hanker, I've realized we're getting towards the end of our hour, and I know you've probably got about 1 million board meetings to go to or whatever it is, or client meetings as well. But I think you're an incredible inspiration, I think, I'm sure for the team that you're managing. But also I just love the sort of innovation and the fact that even, you've been an MD now for 5 years, yet you've elected to go on the master's program, and this curiosity to learn, comes through, very strongly, which is obviously something that I'm such a strong believer in as well. Never too late to learn. We have a lady, who is on our master's program in the UK, who is 60 years old. Yeah. And she's never had a degree. Yeah.
Mm,
And she's managing very large accounts in her business. They're in the waste disposal business. you know. And and she said, I just want to learn. Isn't that
mhm.
wonderful? You're never too old. It's lifelong learning. And it's so nice to hear these stories. But Hanker, I think we should say goodbye on that note, and thank you so much. And I hope you'll come back and join us on a future podcast once you've done your research, and maybe share some of your findings. Would that be possible?
I will be very, very happy to share with you, and I can just echo what you said about this learning, because this is, Philip, what I'd like to really probably make as my closing
Okay.
comments. Because yes, I was working very hard, and I had my family, or I have my family,
Yeah.
two kids. Um, and in some moment, I somehow forgot to learn. I
Okay.
somehow felt that I'm learning enough by doing,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
that it's enough.
Yeah.
And then with this opportunity of master program, we talk about that. I jump with
Yeah.
no so much, let's say, investigating what does it mean. And my first shock was really big one. That's how big it is.
Yeah.
And I was like, even like questioning myself if it's the right program for me. But now, being almost 2 years with you on this program, you really helped me to remind me that the
Okay.
learning, and really the way how the master is structured. So it's not like, just like memorizing some stuff, but
Yeah.
really exploring, studying, and be kind of like, investigating what is behind it. This is really something that
Oh,
absolutely moved me, and I'm so exciting, and I'm even really planning to continue to learn
oh,
and to
great.
continue with some other, let's say, postgraduates or whatever. I still don't know
Yeah.
what, but I really want to do because
Oh,
I found out that it's in today world is so important
yeah.
to get the inspiration. And
Yeah.
sometimes the work is so hard and the life is so
Yes.
hard
Yeah.
that then you are missing the inspiration. And through that, I'm getting enough. You
Yeah.
know that I'm getting even too much. So thank you very much for that. Thank you
Oh,
how
thank you, Hannah.
you
That's very
structure the
kind.
master. It's bring me back one very important uh, moment or
Yeah.
way of for my future.
Oh, well, that's brilliant, and I'm sure I haven't asked you yet how you where will you be in 5 years from now, but I'm sure it's going to be a you know, some people will say you're very lucky, but I think you're going to be serendipitous. I think you're going to, you're steering in in this direction. By the way, I just want again as an aside, uh, Peter Pavel, yeah, your president. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but was giving a lecture in one of the universities on which my son-in-law was attending. He's a general in the army, and I
Ah, okay.
think your leader has a background, doesn't he, in the military? But he contacted me after he heard Peter Pavel talking, saying how impressive he was, and as a leader. So you may agree or disagree with that. I don't know, but you know, clearly he's a remarkable leader. I think from what we can gather. So yeah. Anyway, um, yeah, maybe you're heading for president of the Czech Republic at some stage. Who knows? Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, we'll see. Your future will be very interesting one to follow. But good luck with your masters, Hanker, and we'll look forward to speaking to you again on one of these shows. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.